Sofia Osfour, and welcome on this new episode of my masterclass podcast on healing wounds with the Osfour self-coaching model. In today's episode, we are going to talk about change. But in case you are new to my podcast and you've got no clue what I'm talking about, the Osfour self-coaching model is both a process and a tool. As a process, it is designed to recycle negative experiences in order to transform them into powerful life lessons and use those lessons as a springboard for you to learn, grow, and evolve. As a tool, it is designed to drastically enhance the quality of your self-awareness and your communication by teaching you tools and skills to manage and self-coach yourself on the spot. But if you want to know every details about the Osfour self-coaching model, you will find a link below this video that's going to lead you to another video that is going to explain you everything you ever wanted to know about the Osfour self-coaching model, but never dare to ask. Also keep in mind that this masterclass has a worksheet that belongs to it. You can download it and it's free. Finally, last but not least, please remember to subscribe and like this video. Hello everyone, this is Sofia Osfour and welcome back on this new episode of my masterclass podcast on healing wounds with the Osfour self-coaching model. My name is Sofia Osfour and I'm a mentor, a life coach, a master practitioner in NLP and the creator of the Osfour self-coaching model. So today we're going to talk about change, and the reason I wanted to talk about change is because at the beginning of this week, on Monday in fact, I have sent a video about getting out of your comfort zone. But often what I found is that whenever you look about this subject in social media, what I often found is that you have people talking to you about the beginning, and then they talk to you about the end of the story, basically the result, And it's very easy to completely forget the process there is, to transform yourself from where you were to who you want to be, or from the goal, the present moment where you are to where you want to be. And in my opinion, and that's certainly something that I've experienced, is that what it often does is that it undermines, the process, in the sense that you don't realize how important is the process. In fact, the process is the most important piece of this whole thing, right? And so what you are, in my opinion, is cut off from the reality, but also cut off from the whole story. And so when you are somebody who's trying, especially when you're trying to get out of your comfort zone, I mean, we're not talking about something small here. We're talking about getting completely far from everything and anything you've ever known, basically, right? That's what getting out of your comfort zone is. It's not a small thing. And so what often I found it can do is that people are just so surprised by the difficulty of the process, the discipline that it takes, the commitment that it demands, but also all the resistance that you can meet within yourself because you're trying to do something that in so many ways your brain doesn't want to do, if that makes sense. And as I said, mentioned on my video on Monday, is that this is one of the nastiest, I have to say, trick that Mother Nature has done to human being, because in so many ways everything within us is stopping us from getting out of a comfort zone, or even getting a change. Even when you want to do something that because it needs to be changed, you meet so much resistance, but at the same time, that is how human beings expand, right? So in one hand, you have this part of you who resisted, and on the other hand, this is how you evolve. So it's kind of a contradiction, and I wanted to talk more about that because, on the video that I made on Monday, it was not so much, a video that you take so much details. I don't talk about that in so much details. But for me, I think that is the most important part of any change and getting out of your comfort zone. You gotta be aware that for a while you're gonna have this battle with yourself, because probably if you're trying to change, let's say, a habit that you had, you're gonna go back and forth from the old version of you towards trying to go towards the new version of you. Or if you have a habit, like I said, that it's not gonna happen overnight. They're gonna be a long period of time, more or less long, where there are some days where you're gonna be able to get this new habit into place, and some days where it's going to be difficult, some days when you're not going to be able to do it. And I think that I wish that whenever people are talking about change or getting out of your comfort zone, they would speak more about that process, because this is a dirty work, this is a difficult work, this is where the work is, and it is your ability to, in so many ways, being able to fail and get back to work the next day. Okay, today there's this bad habit that I have, and there's days I make it, and there's some days it's more difficult, and there's some days I just, it's too strong, And so whenever you're trying to, typically getting out of your comfort zone, that is really the place that all the challenge is, is that you gotta be able to keep going, even though you're probably gonna fail a lot, even though you're probably gonna miss it a lot, even though you're gonna probably, just disappoint yourself, And it's very difficult, because when you're trying to get out of your comfort zone or achieve something that is so far away from you, and failing, I think that often what social media does is that it creates this whole, well, not only social media, but even in general, when people are talking about success, is that you have the beginning of the story, but not in the end, but nothing about what's in between. And it's important to remind all of us how much resistance you're gonna meet, based on your belief system, based on also your past. I mean, it's really amazing to see how creative can your brain be when it comes down to sabotage you, how easy it is for the brain to tell you that one, or to remind you about that one thing that you failed at, and that's going to take you down every single time, right? And in those moments, you really have to be super aware of what's going on, super aware that your brain is in a resistance mode, because it's afraid. It's basically afraid, And I have to say that I wish we were trained more about this kind of things, because when you are somebody who suddenly, decides to get out of your comfort zone, or decide to do something out of the ordinary, or simply just want to make change, like I said, there's a habit that you have and you just want to change that horrible habit. This is the part that nobody, speaks about. And I found that there's 3 points that are very important about that. First of all, the number one thing is, to have realistic expectation, because I think that based on what you see in social media, the idea is that, I'm going to start to train tomorrow, and within a week or so I'll be able to do this and that. And that's just not the reality, But of course, the difficulty also is that when you're getting out of your comfort zone, which means that you're doing something that you've never done, how can you have any kind of expectation of what you can or what you can't do, It's very difficult. So that's why you have to really open up your not your expectation, but your standards, right? Because there's a process where you're learning what you're capable of doing, And basically, this is a place where you need to be very open to yourself and gentle with yourself. That's the number one thing, right? The second point is that, like I said, at the beginning, is that you got to expect that at the beginning, and there's a period of time, it's different for everybody, but you're going to go back and forth with, if it's a goal that you have, and for instance, you don't really know what you're doing, so it's probably a time for you to adjust until you found out, or until you figure it out what needs to be done for you to achieve that goal. If you're trying to get out of your comfort zone, and it's unusual for you, I don't know, let's imagine that you want to speak in public and you're someone who's very shy, you got to expect that during a certain period of time it's going to feel very uncomfortable, you're not going to be good at it, and you got to keep on doing it again and again and again and again. And I think to be aware that you're not going to be good, or that it's not going to feel comfortable, it's very important. That's something that you have to prepare yourself for mentally before even you start. And also, the third thing is also, of course, when you're trying to create new habits for you, for yourself, or in your life. You know, if it's like, I don't know, your food habits, or you want to start training or whatever, you know, it is possible that there's a time of adjustment where the old habits of the past are still there, you know, and you're trying to stop them, you know, working with these new habits. But there's a moment where you're going to go back and forth, where you're going to fold, you know, and the old habits is going to kick in. And so it's important during that period that once again you prepare yourself beforehand. I always found that if people were more open about how hard it was, about more open about how hard it was for them to get where they were, instead of just trying to sell you the legend, you know, I think it would be much more inspiring. I certainly would find this much more inspiring, you know, even for myself. And I think the third point, which I found very important, and I mentioned this on the video that I did on Monday, you know, is that it's very important that throughout that period of time when you are processing, you know, you're going through the process of, you know, getting out of your comfort zone, making that change that you want, working towards that goal that you want to achieve. It's very important that every success that you're having, you know, are noted, are considered, are celebrated. That's very important, because I tell you what, if you don't do that, it's very, very, very easy to be overwhelmed by what is not working, because there's probably a lot of things that it's not working. If you have been you know, someone that was stuck in its comfort zone, right, and now, you know, suddenly decide, you know what, I'm gonna do these crazy things that are so far away of who I was, you know, then, you know, you're gonna meet lots of resistance, you're gonna fail, you know, and those things can add up a lot if you're not like conscious, and you don't consciously keep yourself conscious of the success, you know, the things that you're doing right, the things, the progress, you know. And so for me, I'm certainly someone who, you know, is constantly working. And one of the things that I have learned in this experience of working towards making changes, setting new habits, you know, is that it's super important to like super focus your brain onto the things that you are successful at, onto the things that you're progressing at. Even more, because one of the things that we learn, all of us, you know, especially in this society, is to pick up on what's not working, to pick up on what's failing, to pick up on what you know, is resisting, all of those negative things, basically, right? And our brain is so super trained, you know, that it's going to pick up on those things before you even realize it. And you already have an entire like thought structure, emotion connection to it before you know it. And so that's why it's so important to constantly keep track of your progress, your success, throughout changes, because that's the only way to be able to get out of your comfort zone, to be able to keep going, because it's very easy to be overwhelmed by what's not working, very easy. And so that is also a battle that you have to face every day. So that's why it's also very easy, because you could be very successful one day, you know, at, you know, working towards your goal, you know, setting up this new habit that you want, or getting out of a comfort zone and doing that one thing that is so out of, you know, who you have been until now. But the next day you could be terrible at it. And that is what I found the most difficult about change, you know, when you're like, you know, you're still there working towards going or being someone new, but at the same time you're not quite there, right? And so you have to keep on pushing every day, and every day is a new battle, every day is a new test, every day you're learning more, every day you're progressing. But of course, for that you gotta keep going, you gotta keep pushing, you gotta keep moving. And that is the only way for you to do that, is by preparing yourself for the battle ahead, you know. So for me, for instance, in the morning, I'm like, okay, all the things that I know that could trigger my negativity or my resistance, if I have some towards the change that I want to achieve, I prepare myself mentally. Okay, so today this might happen, this might happen, this might happen, and once you prepare it, like, your brain is not taken by surprise in some kind of ways, and you can handle the situation so much better, so that you can keep going, even if it could be that you fail on that day, it could be, but then you just assess yourself, see what was not working, and then you do better the next day. And that is really what's important whenever you are going on a change, a transformation journey, and you want to make a change, such as getting out of your comfort zone. That is not a little change at all. So that I think was my three, like, I wanted to go into details about that because I found that whenever people are talking about like their success, whatever, they completely dismiss that part, which is probably the most important part. And the final things I think I want to add is that it's very difficult, because when you want to do something new, or when you want to set a new habit, or when you want to achieve a goal, all of those things are very uncomfortable, and it's not going to feel natural, it's not going to feel smooth, and you got to find joy in the uncomfortableness, like, let me just rephrase that. You got to find joy to be uncomfortable about this whole process, right? You got to find joy into the details of the process, even though, of course, I understand that maybe it doesn't feel comfortable. I get that part. Maybe if you are someone who's never spoken in public, who's like literally losing your words, your mind, your speech, whatever, when you speak in front of people, of course you might think, well, there's no joy in there for me. But that's why you got to search for it consciously. What is it that could make me happy about this process? Because being happy or finding joy in the process is exactly what's going to make you go back to it every single day. Even though the previous day was maybe a difficult day, you met lots of resistance, or you failed, or you didn't get the result exactly that you wanted. Finding joy within the process, every second of every day, every step, is really what's going to help you to go the next day and be okay. Yesterday was not a good day, but today I'm going to start again, and I'm going to find joy into details, into, I don't know, the preparation of, preparing for the words that I have to say in public or whatever. That is really, I found, the most empowering thing when it comes down to transformation and, how can I say, creating a process that invites you to come back to do it every single day, even though maybe the previous day was not as good as you hope. Okay guys, so listen, I hope that you liked this video, and until next week, all I'm gonna say to you is peace, love and light. Bye bye.